Well, as I'm filming this, I'm getting ready to watch Monday Night Raw, but I did want to get my review of TNA Lockdown out there as quickly as possible. Part 2 of this same video will be filmed right after Raw, because I want to see how something goes before I go into full detail about that secondary topic. But a couple other things I need to get out of the way. Yeah, I'm glad everybody seems to be enjoying the Showcasing the Immortals videos. I'm really glad that series has gotten over as well as I'd hoped. I wasn't sure if anybody would be willing to watch an hour-and-a-half long video, especially one made by me, but they appear to be going over fairly well, so that's real good. Part 4 will be coming either at the end of the month or maybe the first week of April, right before WrestleMania 29, so we'll get there when we get there. And for the remainder of the month, it's going to be all WrestleMania-centric videos. Ones that I've already filmed, actually. Except for Showcasing the Immortals Part 4. That's the only one that hasn't been filmed yet. But, yeah, for the remainder of the month, you're going to be getting a bunch of videos that were pre-taped and everything else. And probably, in some cases, will have been taped weeks in advance. So hopefully that doesn't show too much. But oh well, hopefully y'all enjoy those, and yeah, so be on the lookout for the rest of those videos. But now let's get into the TNA Lockdown 2013, and that ending that has got a lot of people talking, both negatively and positively. Reaction to this ending seems to be mixed, just as reaction to the whole show seems to be a bit mixed based on what I'm reading and what I'm seeing in reviews and stuff. Personally, overall, I'm going to give the pay-per-view a thumbs up. I thought it was a pretty decent show overall. Wasn't stellar. I wouldn't say there were any Match of the Year candidates on it or anything like that, but as a solidly booked, solidly entertaining wrestling show, I thought it was pretty solid from start to finish, and I enjoyed it. I was surprised at how quick it went. I remember looking up, and we were already into hour 10, or hour 3, I'm sorry. 10 o'clock is what I meant to say. Yeah, it was already towards the end of the show. I'm like, wow, that show went quick. It seemed to breeze by pretty quickly, and was a pretty entertaining show overall. Starting off with the card, the X Division match was good. It's typical, car wreck, spot fest type of match, but you expect that out of the X Division at this point. They need to get some more bodies in that X Division, though, because I think Kenny King, Zema Ion, and Christian York is like all they have. Interject Rockstar Spud into the mix. He seems pretty good. I would like to see Joey Ryan in the mix more, and maybe pick up some other guys. That would certainly help. They definitely need more bulk, more bodies in that X Division, because it's really starting to get stale, because I feel like I'm looking at the same 3 guys every single time. Then we had the second match, Joseph Park versus Joey Ryan. I love Joseph Park. He makes me so happy. That character is hilarious. I enjoyed that match thoroughly. That was a very entertaining comedy match, and I was disappointed they didn't get any build-up, because I thought these two characters playing off of each other would be really, really good. I think Joey Ryan's great. I love his whole presentation and everything, and Joseph Park is, for a character that I thought was going to be a complete failure, he has become one of my favorite parts of the show for TNA. I just love that character so much, and he makes me happy and smile, and I laugh whenever he's around, so that's good. So I really enjoyed that match. For a filler match with no build-up, it was actually really entertaining. And I don't understand, these two really entertaining characters, that match gets no build-up, yet they give a lot of build-up to the Robbies, Rob Terry and Robbie E., and them splitting up and everything. I understand it's a tag team breaking up, but come on, we already pushed Rob Terry. He sucks. Haven't you learned? And this match sucked. It was the one part of the show I'm like, yeah, that was awful. That match sucked. But, I didn't like that too much. The Knockouts match was solid enough for what it was. The ending was a little weird. I think it would have come off better if Gail was already the champion. And she hit the referee to try and get herself disqualified so she could save her title. But here it just makes her look kind of dumb. It's like, so you want to get disqualified on purpose? She said that she's like, I'll just get another title match. And yeah, I guess that's part of the problem I have with modern day wrestling, where title shots come so easily that, guys don't even look at a title match as like a final opportunity, or like, oh my God, if I don't win this match, I could be out of the title hunt for 6 months or something like that, which is the way it should be. But overall, I thought the match was all right, and they want to do the feud with Gail and the ECW chick. I keep forgetting her name. Taryn Terrell. There you go. She was Tiffany in ECW. There we go. They want to do that. Okay, fine, whatever. I understand that. I wish Gail had already been the champion, and that I think that ending would have made a lot more sense had they done that, and they could say that Taryn legit cost her the title, rather than she was gonna lose anyway. So it's either you get disqualified or the referee beats you up and you lose by pinfall. So but overall, I thought the match was pretty good. Velvet actually looked pretty decent in there, and she's normally not the most talented. I mean, she's a girl that's really in the position she's in because she's over. But as far as in-ring ability, she's not Kelly bad, but she's not that good either, especially when I compare her to like Gail Kim and Mickie James and Tara and all those girls. But yeah, that was that. The three-way tag was good. I'm so glad that Bobby Roode's contract thing or whatever occurred this weekend was resolved, because when that story broke, I'm like, Bruce Pritchard should be fired if that's true, that he let Bobby Roode's contract expire. Bobby Roode, one of the best guys you have? Come on, dudes. But yeah, I thought this was a really good action-packed match. Really good for the tag division to have like three strong contenders in the mix. And Aries and Rude won, which I thought was the right decision. It was a really good action-packed type of match. I really enjoyed it, and the right guys went over. So that was good all around. And then we get to this match. And by the way, I'm so glad that TNA shortened it down to 3 cage matches this year for Lockdown, because it worked so much better. The cage actually meant something rather than, starting off big and then fizzling out by the end of the show, which has happened in previous Lockdowns. So when Wes Briscoe and Kurt Angle had their match, a lot of the spots they did seemed really, really big because they didn't have to follow 5 cage matches. Just saying, the oversaturation of the gimmick. They didn't do that as much this year, so it worked out much better, in my opinion. Kurt Angle and Wes Briscoe, I'm still not impressed with Wes Briscoe, but this match was about 20 times better than it had any right to be. I watched this match, and when it was over, I was like, wow, Kurt Angle really can get a good match out of anybody, because it was a pretty solid match. It wasn't fantastic, but considering how low my expectations were, I was like, all right, that was pretty solid. It was good. It was basically just Kurt throwing Wes around, but considering how unimpressive I think Wes is, and considering how low my expectations were, I was like, okay, that match was pretty solid. I'll let it slide. That was a good one. Then you got Lethal Lockdown, which again, I really enjoyed. I was confused that they didn't bring the roof down this year. They never said that they weren't going to do that, so I thought that was a little odd. But Lethal Lockdowns tend to be a little cluttered, especially when it's 5-on-5. And there was a little bit of that, but they got some big spots in there, like the big Tower of Doom spot and Eric Young's big elbow off the top of the cage. So they did get a lot of good action and good spots out of this. And I think they finally found something good for Garrett Bischoff to do. He's a little shit-eating weasel heel that gets his ass kicked and bumps all over the place. I'm like, you know what? That's better than being pushed as a top babyface. So it's like, all right, let him be that little shithead that gets his ass kicked all the time. That's a pretty good role for him, I think. That's a good way to utilize his talents. But yeah, Lethal Lockdown, I enjoyed that. I would have had Aces and Eights go over, especially going into what I'm going to talk about in the main event. But just let them have the clean sweep throughout the night and let the heel faction come out strong. But I enjoyed Lethal Lockdown regardless. I thought it was a good match. And then you get the main event, Bully Ray versus Jeff Hardy for the title, which was basically, as a match, it was pretty much all just a setup for Bully Ray's heel turn, and ultimately being revealed as being the mastermind and the president of the Aces and Eights. And I gotta say, I really liked how it turned out. I really liked how that played out. Yes, it was a swerve, and yes, we all knew it was coming at some point. I mean, I've been calling that Bully was going to turn heel and join Aces and Eights back in August, because it felt like they were always on the verge of doing it, or they always had an opportunity to do it, and they never quite got around to it for whatever reason. Like, Aces and Eights interfered in a match at Hardcore Justice, and their interference led to Bully Ray getting a huge win in the Bound for Glory series. No Surrender, they attacked Jeff Hardy, and Bully Ray has to face an injured Jeff Hardy in the finals. Bully Ray didn't win, but it still looked like the Aces and Eights helped him out there. Then you get the tag match. It was Bully and Sting versus Aces and Eights, and if Aces and Eights wins, they get to legally be within the Impact Zone and part of TNA's roster or whatever. And by Bully being Sting's partner, it pretty much, even though he didn't directly screw Sting, it pretty much ensured that there was no way Aces and Eights were going to lose that match. And it's just a lot of little things like that. And, there were times when Bully would run out there and chase off the Aces and Eights by himself without laying a hand on them, and that always raised eyebrows with me. It's like, that looked awfully simple and easy. So basically a lot of things like that. And even them breaking up Bully and Brooks' wedding, it looked like, okay, he's trying to get in good with the Hogans so he can eventually find his spot in the TNA World Title picture. And that's how everything played off and paid off at this pay-per-view. And I thought it came off rather well. I mean, I'll give them credit. They actually planned out something. I think that they had this plan from the beginning. And they built it up and they did their payoff. And I think it's a perfect vehicle for Bully Ray to show off what he does best, and that's be a mega heel. I mean, Hulk Hogan Jr. babyface Bully Ray isn't that appealing, but jackass heel Bully Ray as TNA World Champion, I think that works a lot better. And Bully Ray's a guy who really worked hard for his spot. I mean, I will never question that guy's like, you know what, when Team 3D broke up, I'm like, all right, they're going to go singles, and they're going to fizzle out, and you're never going to see him again. Because Team 3D had really run its course, and I thought, they're not going to amount to much as singles guys. And after, Bully Ray really busted his ass to prove me and a lot of other people wrong. And by the end of it, I mean, last year when there were talks that Bully Ray's contract was up with TNA, I started thinking in my mind, it's like, you know what? They can't afford to lose him because he's too good. And he's too valuable of an asset to lose. And that's how much Bully Ray impressed me and how much he really, showed me. It's like, all right, you know what? He's gotten a lot better in the ring. His promos are second to none. He can get heat like a motherfucker. Good for him. I mean, I was wrong. I will admit, Bully Ray, I was wrong. And I think him in this top heel spot, I think is a really good move. And I think it adds a lot to the Aces and Eights because, like I said, I mean, there were so many times where they just kept losing and losing and losing. And it's like, all right, they look like just a bunch of jabroni goons, and they really need some kind of a spark to really liven them up. And I think Bully Ray being the mastermind of the whole thing is the right way to go as far as that is concerned. And hopefully they get some mileage out of this. I think it would be a lot easier to center storylines around now that you have a top heel. Because, D'Lo's not going to be that guy. I mean, I loved D'Lo back in 98 and 99 and whatever, but, I mean, now he's just all fat and, past his prime and everything. I mean, he's not going to be the guy to do it. Devon is not as good as Bully, even though he's great on the mic. So I don't think he's the guy to do that either. And then you got Doc and Mike Knox and, Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe. I don't think any of those guys are top heel material either. But, well, now you have that in Bully Ray. And I think they can get a lot more mileage out of Aces and Eights with him on top. And hopefully they're able to do something really good with it. In my mind right now, I'm thinking, okay, Bound for Glory main event, it's going to be Bully Ray versus AJ Styles for the TNA World Title, and AJ is going to play the Sting character where he's kind of the fallen hero that is the lone wolf and stands on his own. And they'll basically just mimic Hogan and Sting from 97 by doing that. You know what? I think Hogan Sting from 97 is one of the greatest build-ups of all time, and every time I do like a fantasy booking in my mind, I think you got to Hogan and Sting that shit because you can do so many good things because that build-up was so awesome. And with many of the things that they did. I felt like Edge and Matt Hardy in 2005 should have been that as well, and they didn't do that. But they kind of just rushed it to the next pay-per-view, and then they did the typical, okay, we'll do 3 or 4 rematches, and that's it. When I felt they probably could have built that up over the course of 6 or 7 months, but yeah, that's just me. But yeah, I mean, they could easily do that here, especially with what they've set up with AJ and how now that they've basically set up Bully Ray to be the biggest mega heel in the company right now. And they could probably get something good out of that, especially since it's like, all right, AJ can't get a title shot until Bound for Glory. Wonder what that means. He's going to get his title shot at Bound for Glory. Wow, did they actually map this out for all the way going back to last year? I mean, if they, honest to God, had planned this for that long, kudos to TNA. I was like, I will actually give them credit. It's like, you know what? They actually think ahead and do things like this. So I'll give them credit for that. And again, going back to the Aces and Eights, remember when we all thought it was going to be Jarrett? And I don't have anything against Jarrett, but it's kind of like, okay, Jarrett is the bad guy leading the bad stable. We've seen that at least a dozen times. Or remember when we all thought it was going to be Eric Bischoff? Again, we've seen that a dozen times. Now, okay, they put a fresh character into that spot. And Bully Ray is good. And again, like I said, I think he can build a lot of heat for this angle and ultimately be a very good heel champion. So I think this is a really good move on TNA's part. And I thought the ending came off really well. Yeah, Brooks' acting leaves a lot to be desired, but I did think it was great. Like, Bully had that great line, Hogan, I used you, Brooke, I screwed you, and all you fans, I fooled you, or something that great. I mean, that is such a great line. I really love that. And, the fans throwing trash into the ring is always great, because that really, paints the picture of, massive heel heat. Apparently they planted fans in the audience to do that, but even so, it was a great visual, so I'm not going to, bash him for it. It worked well on TV, if nothing else. And, hopefully this works. I think, okay, you know what? I think overall Lockdown was a success because now I'm interested in seeing what they do with their first Chicago Impact on the road. It's like, all right, you got AJ Styles coming back, and you've got Bully Ray going in as the top heel champion, leading the Aces and Eights into TNA's first show on the road in Chicago. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Good for you. You've got my attention. And maybe they'll even set up their Bound for Glory main event on this show with AJ coming back as well. So overall, I'm going to give Lockdown a thumbs up. I thought they did some good things storyline-wise. I thought the matches were mostly good. Nothing fantastic or match of the year quality. But overall, I thought it was a pretty well put together show. And pretty solidly entertaining. And the ending left me wondering, okay, I want to see what happens next. So, yeah, overall, I enjoyed Lockdown. I thought it was pretty good. Well, now that I've actually watched Raw, I have to actually go on a rant about something that I did not plan on going on a rant about. Throughout the course of the night, they kept, they did a tribute to Paul Bearer and everything. That became one of the major angles that they did throughout the show. And for some unknown goddamn reason, Michael Cole kept saying that The Undertaker and Kane are stepbrothers. That's not true. And he kept using it so frequently that I'm convinced that he doesn't know what stepbrothers actually means. And he's actually confusing it with half-brothers, which is actually what the Undertaker and Kane characters actually are. According to the dictionary, this wonderful little tool here that helps you learn what words mean. They even have online versions now. Stepbrothers are related by marriage. Basically, that's like the basic, layman's basic bitch way I could possibly put it. They're related by marriage and not blood. That's the key. They're born of different parents, and their only relation is through marriage of, their individual parents. They're not actually related by blood. That's what stepbrothers are. This is not what The Undertaker and Kane are. Throughout the years, and who knows, maybe they fucking rewrote the storyline again, because Lord knows they fucked around with Kane's history so goddamn much that they probably changed that too. I don't know. But we've always been led to believe that they had the same mother. Paul Bearer was Kane's father, but they shared the same mother. That would make them half-brothers. They're half-brothers. They're not step-brothers, okay? They're half-brothers. There is a key, significant goddamn difference, and if you actually knew the terminology, you would know these things. And what pisses me off is that their audience mostly comprised of kids. And it bothers me when they feed misinformation to children because they're basically telling the kids wrong things. Not morality-wise, although a lot of the morality in wrestling is questionable. You're feeding them misinformation, and they're going to go through life thinking, they're not old enough, they're not smart enough yet to know, they're not old or smart enough yet to know that you're stupid, okay, and that you're wrong. And just get your fucking information right before you start using terms that you don't understand. I mean, this is the same company. 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. It's like, WrestleMania 25 is not the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. It's like the first WrestleMania does not commemorate itself. I just get so goddamn pissed off. And Jerry Lawler, Transylvania's not in Romania. Just... Fuck it. Anyway, let's get into something that I did plan on talking about and, actually reference a positive from Monday Night Raw tonight. Dolph Ziggler actually got a win. Yay! For the first time in what feels like 6 years. Although, truthfully, I'm thinking back in my mind here. He beat Cena at the not Money in the Bank, TLC pay-per-view in December. And then he went on an amazing losing streak to John Cena. And I'll be honest, the last time I recall seeing Ziggler win a match was the Beat the Clock challenge heading into the Royal Rumble. That's the last time I remember seeing Ziggler win. Since then, he beat Daniel Bryan tonight, and other than that, I honest to God cannot recall a single match that Dolph Ziggler has won. Maybe he has, but for the most part, it feels like he's been on a gigantic losing streak. And that is a problem, and that's how I'm going to bring that into, if you notice the topic title, Money in the Bank is also stupid. Now, I don't really fully believe that. I just use that as a little headline to get some attention. I don't really believe that Money in the Bank in of itself is stupid. I think the concept is fine. I think the prize that these guys are fighting for, I think that's fine. I think the idea has merit. I like the match. I like the potential of creating a new star. I like the possible direction to give somebody. There's so many things to like about the Money in the Bank concept. What I don't like is their execution of the cash-in. And I think, personally, the shot cash-in needs to go. Because it's almost become an excuse not to build somebody up properly. Or not to build them up with wins. It's almost felt like, we're going to give them this win where they cash in the Money in the Bank and they win the world title. And that's good enough. And that's what they think. I disagree. I don't think that's the right way to go at all. I think if you're going to build somebody up to the world title, you have to build them up to... just reference it. You got to build them up here. You got to build them up with wins so that they build credibility. So when you get them to this point, to the world title level, people will buy them as being credible contenders. And that's what you need to do. And if it were up to me, I would change Money in the Bank by, when they win the briefcase, like, a week later on Raw, they do this segment where it's like, okay, announce when you're going to cash in. You have, within the calendar year, you have that frame of time to decide, to pick your title shot, and then they'll announce the date, and then you build him up to that point. You give him feuds in between, you give him big wins in between. Generally, he should be kept on not necessarily a perfect record, but he has to be built up with wins, win after win after win after win. And, I think that would be the way to go. And as far as the shot cash-ins go, like I said, it's become an excuse not to build people up. They did it to a point with Miz. This is the same year he lost the United States title to a Bret Hart that can't take bumps. So, they did that. They did this to Punk twice. Punk was a jobber both times. Before cashing in his Money in the Bank. Punk was able to make it work the second time, but still, that's what they did. They did it to Jack Swagger, who was probably the worst example. The dude was a jobber for his entire time on Raw, and then all of a sudden, he's number one contender thanks to Money in the Bank, and he's winning the title 2-3 days later, and nobody bought it, because, we'd been conditioned for a year to think that Swagger sucks. And, Daniel Bryan, they didn't only job him out, I forgot he was employed. That's how under promoted he was. To where it's like, I just flipped on SmackDown, one of the few times I actually, bothered to go out of my way to watch SmackDown. And I flip on the TV and I see Daniel Bryan there and I'm like, oh, holy shit, I forgot he was employed. The Money in the Bank owner. Completely forgot he worked for the company. That is sad. And really the shot cash-in only worked once. They worked with Edge. And the reason it worked is because they built him up to that point. So when Edge won the title, you didn't question it. He belonged on that level because they had appropriately built him up over the course of a few months. He beat Kane. And despite my misgivings about how the Matt Hardy feud turned out, he beat Matt Hardy and forced him off of Raw. He humiliated Ric Flair, so he's moving up and up, building up his heat, and then boom, he steals the title from Cena. There you go. That worked. But for some reason, they've just have this track record now of, we'll just make the guy a jobber, and when we do the cash-in, we'll just do the cash-in. It doesn't matter how we build him up before then. When in reality, I talked about you got to build him up. You got to build him up here to get him to the world title. They're starting him off like right here when he wins the belt, and now you've got to build him up to where people can buy him as world champion, even though he's already world champion. And, like I said, Punk made that work because he's fucking CM Punk, and, most of what he touches turns to fucking gold anyway, but not everybody can, resurrect themselves from the dead like he can. And, they've done a really poor job. And quite honestly, I liked what they did with Rob Van Dam, where he won the Money in the Bank. And you all knew he was going to cash in One Night Stand, so they built him up to that point, and it worked. And I wish they would just do that from now on, because the shot cash-in is really becoming cliche, and it's becoming an excuse for lazy writing and lazy booking. And I think I figured out why they do that, do what they do. I think it's because they want the cash-in to be a shock. And so that when it happens, we don't see it coming. They don't want us to think that this guy could win it at any time he wants to. They don't want us to think that he's good enough to win it any time he wants to. They want us to be completely surprised when he cashes in. And I understand that, but like I said, you're kind of hurting the guy along the way to do that, and you're kind of putting him in a position where he has to work his way up and fight uphill to get over his champion when he should already be over his champion. When you win your first world title, you should already be like, okay, that's your spot, that's your role. It's yours. You belong there now. Instead of having to basically build yourself up to a point that you already have. You already have the title, yet they continue to have to build you up just to make people give a shit. And it's really just really backwards booking in my mind. And Dolph Ziggler's a guy that I've been singing his praises since 2009. I watched the dude have a squash match against Rey Mysterio where he got killed in under 2 minutes. And I thought, hey, that motherfucker can sell. And I was like, they give him some offense, he might be really good. And sure enough, he became what he is now. I think as a worker, Dolph Ziggler, truthfully, is second to none in the WWE right now. I put him above Daniel Bryan. I put him above even CM Punk. In the ring, I mean, we can talk about complete package. I think Punk has him beat. But in the ring, typically the matches that I enjoy the most are Dolph Ziggler matches. I think Dolph Ziggler has there's no one better than him in the ring right now in the WWE. I think Dolph Ziggler is the best. He's the one I enjoy watching the most. Within kayfabe, though, storyline-wise, he sucks because he loses all the time. And he's got a muscle in Big E Langston, and he's got a girlfriend cheating for him in AJ Lee, and he still loses, what feels like 95% of the time. So, reality, he sucks. That's the way it is. It's like you can say he has all the talent in the world, but within kayfabe, within storylines, the guy fucking sucks because he loses all the goddamn time. And that's not a way to build credibility for somebody or to build him up to the world title. And I know for a fact he's going to cash in the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to cash in the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, and he's going to walk out of that show as the World Heavyweight Champion. He's going to take the title from either Alberto Del Rio or Jack Swagger. There's no doubt in my mind that that's how it's going to play out. The problem, though, is that they're not building him up to that point. He doesn't even have a direction heading into WrestleMania. He's just the guy that loses most of the time on TV, and he's going to cash in the briefcase at WrestleMania and win the title. And because, he's got nothing else to do at WrestleMania, what the fuck else is he going to do? Some people said he was going to work with Jericho. I guess that got dropped. I don't know. I mean, there's so many guys right now. I'm just sitting there going, I have no fucking clue what they're going to be doing at Mania. And you've got the Money in the Bank briefcase winner walking around with the briefcase heading into WrestleMania, and he's got nothing to do. It's like, well, he must be cashing in, because what the fuck else are they going to use him for? That should be a big spot, and they're making him look like he sucks. And I don't understand. I mean, yeah, they gave him a win tonight, finally, but it's really a problem with how they book their Money in the Bank winners. And, they need to fix that. And like I said, I think they need to do away with the shot cash-in, and I think they just need to go ahead and have the Money in the Bank winner announce the date that he's going to cash it in ahead of time, make that the new rule, and then build him up to that title match. And I think you would get a lot more mileage out of that character if you focus on him and make us believe that he's something to fear or something that to believe in as someone who could win the world title. It would be a lot more beneficial than just having him lose all the goddamn time and expect us to buy it when he wins the title, because that's a problem. And you're basically asking us to fill in the blanks along the way because you were too lazy to fill them in yourselves. And I don't like that. I'm like, you wrote this shit, you write good shit, and I'll go along with it. But now you're writing nothing and you're expecting me to go along with whatever you go with, and I can't stand that, and it makes me sick whenever modern day wrestling does that. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Again, be on the lookout for my WrestleMania videos for the rest of the month, and until then, I will see you later.